What is going on, Movie Meals? Guys, it's been weeks.
2 weeks.
We've been in a video together. Wow, this is incredible.
I'm glad you're back.
Who are you?
Who are you?
I forgot about you.
Let's see if we can pull this off again.
We had so many issues the last few weeks with videos. The only one we were able to get up was my Game of Thrones review. If you love Game of Thrones, go check that out. We're making one later tonight as well.
Nice.
Sunday, Tuesday, Monday morning. But let's.
Sunday, Tuesday, Monday.
We're here to talk Detroit, Kathryn Bigelow's new film with an ensemble cast. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk the good, the bad. Do you want to go first or me?
Nah, you take it away.
All right. I really liked this film. I thought this was a great film. I love Kathryn Bigelow. The Zero Dark 30, The Hurt Locker, even all the way back to Point Break. I really like her films. I think she's a great director, and in this time where Patty Jenkins is getting all this love, we're getting more of these female directors coming out and just making great movies.
Yeah, for sure.
And Kathryn Bigelow really hit home with this one. I really enjoyed it. I thought she did. I think this is a very important movie. It's very very relevant to our time today with a lot of the police brutality we still have going on, and a lot of the mistreatment of a lot of people throughout our country. But I thought Kathryn Bigelow did a really good job of taking the intenseness of the riots. And I knew a little, I don't know about you, but I knew a little bit about these riots beforehand. It wasn't something we really studied in school growing up, so we weren't alive when this happened. But so I only knew little bits, so I was excited to go into this film, and I didn't want it, it's not a documentary, so I didn't want it to educate me, but I wanted to get more of an idea where then I go look up a documentary, or I go look up more about it, and it did just that. I became really interested in the film, and I thought Kathryn Bigelow did a really good job of beginning the film with, like, a wide scope of everything, and I thought throughout the whole film it slowly condensed more and more, and it all came together into this one kind of cohesive unit, obviously, which happens in the hotel. And I thought it all came together and hit there, and then we get the trial and we get more about it, and I thought it was well written. I thought it was very, very well directed. I actually thought the directing was the highlight. And then it was very well acted. This is an ensemble film, so this is,
it really is.
Everyone came to play. John Boyega, Anthony Mackie, what's the guy's name from Straight Outta Compton? I remembered Will Poulter, but he was good.
I know.
But he was good. He was great in the film. The other two officers with Will Poulter, who were recognizable faces, I don't know their names, but they were good. Everyone was so good in this film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry for that beeping, but everyone was so good in this film, and I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought they all came to play, and it wasn't. I mean, some people have heard complaints where they were like, the trailers were misleading. I thought John Boyega would be in a lot more. I thought they were selling these actors. I never went in thinking that. I always thought this is going to be an ensemble film. I don't need John Boyega because he's because he's a big name right now to be the lead. I want everyone to come together and give me a compelling story, and I thought Kathryn Bigelow was able to pull that off with great directing. Before I throw it to you, the last thing I will say that was a positive is a lot of these movies like to incorporate actual scenes, actual footage from some of these events, actual tales, and I love that. In some movies, though, the way the director chooses where to put them in, if it's at the end, in the middle, or throughout the film, sometimes it doesn't work. I actually thought this really worked, and it stood out to me throughout the film, where I thought the way she intercut real footage, real images, newspapers, all those things I thought worked really, really well. I really enjoyed this film.
Yeah, I totally have to agree with you on how great this movie is. Kathryn Bigelow obviously is a terrific director. I'm really happy that she, along with Patty Jenkins, are starting to really have their moment to shine this year. I think that's going to be great for film in the future. But when it comes to this movie is very good. I have to agree with Alex that the way she directed this did a great job of showing the wide scope of how terrible these Detroit riots were back in the day, and then being able to condense the entire film into this one moment in the riots. The motel, I'm spacing on the motel's name, but the motel part of the movie really was driving me home. And then towards the end, it shows the trials and then the aftermath of what happened to everyone else. I think she did a really great job when it comes to that. She did a really great job with all of the actors. You're right. This is a very big ensemble piece, and everyone does their part perfectly. I think everyone really drove home all the terror, all the emotion, all of the dramatic moments that came out of these, because those times back then were really brutal, especially for everyone living in Detroit. Not just for one side of the situation, but also for the other side, whether they were being mistreated or whether those people were just trying to get the job done how they viewed like they were supposed to. And really, that's just what this movie is all about. It really drives all the emotional points, and that's what really sells me with this movie. And I think Catherine did a very great job when it comes to that.
It did such a good job of showing, like I was saying, where it felt like a wide scope that got slowly condensed.
Yeah, I really like
and
that.
Because at the beginning, when it's just kind of the riots, she directed it where you felt claustrophobic with them and you felt like angry with them, but at the same time, you kind of felt like them at the time, like you didn't have to participate in the riots and you could kind of feel like, but when it came to the motel, all of a sudden it got really claustrophobic and it's like you can't run. And she also did a great job of showing these characters' emotions and making you care for them without it saying, like, John Boyega's your lead, let's follow him through the whole thing and his one story. It did a great job of that.
Showing everyone's.
To the point where even when you follow one guy, he's been beaten by the police and attacked and people are dying, and then he gets away, and then all of a sudden he's with a new officer and he's terrified, and the officer is like, what has this guy just been through? But because this officer isn't racist, whereas the other officers were, and they were just horrible people and did horrible things, and you got to see those differences, and it really hit home for me.
Right.
So negatives.
Yes.
So these movies are really hard to give negatives to.
Yeah.
But coming from specifically the way it was edited, and I think Catherine Bigelow did an outstanding job. This is just a nitpick. I thought at the very end it felt condensed, and then all of a sudden it was kind of like payoff and then kind of a little bit more. Like, not that the film was too long, but the one storyline you continue to follow and the one character, after they go through, you're expecting this in this type of movie. The trials kind of go through, you see what happens to all these characters, but then it sticks with one guy. And to me, it just kind of added this, like, it kind of took away all that tension I had before, and I didn't want it to, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But it wasn't a bad thing because I enjoyed the ending that we got with music, and if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about with the music and everything. I did enjoy that, but that just, at the very end, I just felt so claustrophobic and into it, and then all of a sudden I felt the relief and like the anger, but then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I kind of wouldn't mind seeing a couple more. Maybe that's what it more is. I wouldn't have mind seeing a few more of what happened to these characters with those actors than just following the one we got, but I did enjoy it. It's complicated, guys, but yeah, that's my nitpick, I guess.
Okay. As with me, I didn't have many negatives at all when it comes to the story. I understand where you're coming from with the ending, but that didn't bother me as much. Mostly just the things that I found that were kind of bothering me was the camera work. I thought some of the scenes when it came to the camera work kind of took me out of the movie when it came to how she was trying to shoot some of the dramatic moments that were happening. And don't get me wrong, throughout the entirety of this movie, like, I was still invested full on. I was still feeling like the emotions that all the characters were feeling. I think the way that she was directing was really selling me on how I was supposed to be reacting. But there was just a few little moments where her camera work was kind of just taking me out of the work, whether she was trying to do some shaky cam type things, or whether the way she was just trying to have the camera move from point A to point B wasn't really as well done as I would have wanted it to be. But that might have just been a creative decision by herself, or maybe by her cinematographer. I'm not quite sure, but that's just what I noticed, and that was just probably the one thing that took me out of this movie. But overall, though, it's very good.
See, to me, shaky cam can actually, or that little bit more like shaky cam, where you're trying to, because a lot of movies, they try to make you feel like it's more into it, and a lot of the times it doesn't work, but for this movie, it actually, that worked for me.
Really?
Where I felt more into the chaos with these guys.
All right, then.
And because some shaky cams are like, oh, that's just sloppy. But to me, this Catherine Bigelow did a really good job of all the actors, that when the cam is shaking and everything, I was like, this is what these guys are seeing. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
It's all nuts, but that's just how I felt.
Yeah.
Score out of 10, Kyle.
Oof.
Out of 10, I'm going to give Catherine Bigelow's Detroit an 8.5 out of 10. I think this is the big first real Oscar film of the year.
Ooh,
I think this is going to be... I'm not saying it's going to be nominated for everything, but when nominations come out, I think we might see this...
Don't be surprised if its name comes up a couple of
times. Yeah, and it's a little early for Oscar season, but obviously, I think it's jumped in, yeah.
For me, I'm gonna go 9 out of 10 on this one.
Nice.
I really enjoyed this movie. I mean,
Yeah, it's good.
I mean,
I'm leaning towards the 9 way,
it's
so I'm with
terrible
you.
that these riots happened, obviously, but I think this movie did a really good job of telling most of the events of what happened during that time, and I really enjoyed it. I was fully invested. I thought the movie did a great job getting me emotionally invested. It did a great job with me wanting to follow these characters, wanting me to dive in and to learn more about this story in the future. So 9 out of 10, and I think Alex is right. There could be some Oscar buzz for this.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
see.
So, guys, what did you think of Detroit? Please comment below. Let us know. Don't forget, give us that big old thumbs up while you're here. This channel, hit subscribe, share it around with your friends. We thank you guys for all the support. It's kind of a dead season. The summer season's ended, so movies, we're switching into Oscar season. We got some big ones coming up in the next month or so.
Should be.
So watch out for that, guys. And as always, Mom, thanks for watching.
See you guys.